Let's start with what happened yesterday at Empower Field at Mile High, because I think we're going to be on the same page on this one, James. The Broncos won the game, because when you win 38-0, you won. The Chiefs just rolled over and died. I mean, it's one thing to sit your starters. It's another to not give any cares in the world about that football game. Andy Reid had his guys completely, utterly, totally unprepared, almost to the point if I was a Bengals or Dolphins fan, I would feel insulted that that was an NFL game that decided my fate. The Chiefs didn't care at all. They did not want to be in Denver at all. They went through the motions and went home.
Yeah, it looked like one team was playing a preseason game, the last preseason game where you're playing a bunch of guys who won't make the roster, and the other team was playing for a spot in the playoffs.
Yep.
And that's how you end up with a 38-0 final score. I mean, it was 21-0. The Chiefs had run 6 plays. They did nothing on defense to stop the Broncos. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And in between each of those 3 drives, the Chiefs had 2 drives, 3 and out, 3 and out. They were extremely vanilla. They made no adjustments. The effort matched their game plan. They had a lack of talent on the field, obviously, when 13 different guys don't play or hardly play.
Yep.
When you're playing guys that you literally just signed and picked up, it was an embarrassment. And I don't feel sorry for the Bengals or for the Dolphins. I don't. They had plenty of opportunities to get to 10 wins. But if you were sitting there and you were a Bengals fan and you watched their game on Saturday, they win on Saturday night over the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and you're sitting down yesterday kind of with your fingers crossed of like, okay, and that's the effort they got?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even competitive. It wasn't even a real football game. And I think Andy Reid was messing with the football gods, lowercase g. I think they're going to lose in the divisional round. I think they're going to spend 25 days not playing a meaningful football game. I think they're going to it's bad karma to go out and give that bad of effort. Like, if you want to sit guys, I get it. You can still game plan. You can still try to win. They didn't try to win. And I think there are 2 reasons for it. One, I don't think Andy Reid wanted the Cincinnati Bengals to be the 7th seed.
I would agree with that.
Because if they get the 7th seed, they're at Buffalo instead of the Broncos. If they win, Cincinnati's coming to Kansas City for the division round. They don't want that.
To Burrowhead.
Correct.
Where Joe's had some success over the years, including winning an AFC title game there.
Correct.
And should have won a second AFC title game there if it wasn't the ref show.
Correct. So they want no part of it. He wanted no part of that. I think that was first and foremost. The second part of it is, hey, if Denver shocks the world and goes in and wins at Buffalo, why show them anything 2 weeks before you have a game against them? Now, that's number 2 for me because they've played the Broncos a lot. They've already played them earlier this year when it did, matter to both teams. So I don't know that he's tipping his hand a ton, but I think that was a factor of like, hey, what are the Broncos now versus what they were, mid-season when they played before? The Broncos are a different team. You would game plan them differently. Bo Nix is playing better now than he did then, and there's no reason for Andy Reid to show anything. Okay, I get that, but I feel like the first reason is the big one, and that's trying to manipulate the standings. I understand it.
There's another coach in this town that's done that over the years.
It's the Michael Malone move. I understand it. I just think there's something, it's like the spirit of the game, right? It's just like the integrity of the game. Like, that was embarrassing. If you're Roger Goodell, if you're the league, if you're the Hunt family, if you're the Chiefs, I think you should be embarrassed that that's your effort. I really do.
No, I agree with you. I thought there's a difference between earning the right to rest your starters, which Sean Payton talked about last week.
Correct.
And then rolling in relaxed and carefree, no worries in the world. And Andy Reid and his guys, again, were happy to just come here, get their butts kicked, and go home. Now, they had to sit on the tarmac in Kansas City for 4 hours, so maybe that was a little bit of karma. They actually didn't even leave Denver until the last couple of hours. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
They were here all night and most of today because they couldn't get back to KC because they got hammered with a snowstorm. So I'm sure that added to just their disgust that they had to come play this game because Denver to KC is not a hard trip, yet it was made hard for the Chiefs, and that could have contributed to their lack of effort as well, as they were just thinking, this is a freaking joke. We even have to be here, and even their backups played like that.
Well, in contrast it to what the Lions did last week going into San Francisco and playing a game that didn't matter. They could have lost that game, and it still would have come down to last night to who was going to get the 1 seed and who was going to win the NFC North. And they went out and they played. And I understand the risk of injury, and I understand that you would sit there and you'd kick yourself if Patrick Mahomes hurt his knee in a meaningless game at the end of the year.
I mean, Christian Watson tore his ACL for the Packers in a game that the Packers didn't really have to have yesterday.
But you can't live life with bubble wrap all over you, right? And I think that you look at the Lions, you look at the mentality, you look at the way they play, you look at the way Dan Campbell approaches things. Andy Reid's won the last 2 Super Bowls. He's won a lot of football games. He's probably the best coach in the league, so far be it from me to question him. But if I'm going to root for somebody, if the Broncos are eliminated and it's time to pick a team, well, we know it ain't going to be the Chiefs, but it's really easy to get behind a team like the Lions who go out there and they're keeping score. People paid for tickets. Okay, we're going to show up and do our job, and we're going to play. We're going to compete. And the Chiefs didn't show up and do their jobs yesterday. They didn't compete. Good for the Broncos because they got a free win. That was an absolute free win. I don't know how they could have lost it. I think Bo Nix could have thrown 5 picks, and the Broncos still would have found a way to win that game because the Chiefs were that uninterested. But it just was it was an embarrassment. It leaves it to where the Broncos at this point will. And I wrote about it today at denversports.com. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it. We still don't know anything about this team. We still don't. They still haven't beaten anybody.
Yeah,
what
but again,
do we know? What did we learn yesterday?
This goes back to what you and I talked about after the Falcons win. I can still be impressed even if I don't think the opponent was terribly impressive. Bo Nix still started 18 for 18 yesterday. Bo Nix still had one of the best games we've ever seen in a Broncos uniform. In fact, with that last completion, he passed Peyton Manning for the most efficient game in Broncos history, going 26 of 29.
Put a big asterisk next to that.
I'm not saying there's not an asterisk, but
grief.
I am telling you that just like when they obliterated the Falcons, there are things from that football game yesterday that I can really like and really enjoy. As a Broncos fan, it was still fun to watch.
I didn't think it was fun to watch after a while. Once it was 21-0 after Vele's touchdown, it's like, okay. It became ridiculous. It was uninteresting because it was so ridiculous.
When Bo Nix is flipping it to Javonte Williams on this crazy run, and then the laws of physics get defied because he clearly threw it backwards, but because of inertia or whatever, it's ruled a forward pass. Like, that was fun. That was make me jump off my couch type fun.
No, it was silly. It was nonsense. It was literally a scrimmage between the varsity and the JV. And just being all excited about, hey, look how the varsity looked. They beat the JV. They shut them out. They won 38-0. Like, who cares? At some point, it just becomes, when is this going to be over, and let's move on and let's get ready for the Bills.
So you didn't walk away impressed with anything yesterday? I mean, Bo Nix played out of his mind, James, and you can only beat the team that's out on the field in front of you.
It's like going 18 for 18 in a walkthrough. You ought to.
He had some good throws. He had some really good throws.
Not against anybody that was trying to defend it. Again, I play this game on the couch with my kids. Could I have made that throw?
Okay.
You all can scoff. You laughed about the Russell Wilson football that I threw 80 yards in the air. Nobody thought it would happen.
Okay.
They had like 3 throws yesterday. I'm like, I couldn't have made that. You don't think I could throw the ball to Marvin Mims on a bubble screen?
The deep ball to Sutton in the first quarter.
That's one.
That was filthy. He throws one of the prettiest deep balls in the NFL.
This is my problem with with people think I'm a Bo Nix hater or detractor. I'm not. I just have a level head and I'm reasonable. And I don't get all excited about him going 18 for 18 in a walkthrough.
But how can you say we still don't know anything about the Broncos?
We don't.
When they just made the playoffs for the first time in 8 years.
Okay, I'll tell you, because they beat the NFC South, the Raiders twice, the Jets, the Browns, the Colts, and the Chiefs B team. They won one game against a team that's above 500 that tried. That was the Bucs.
They also got their hearts ripped out against 3 very good teams.
Okay. But
the Chiefs in Arrowhead, the Chargers in L.A., and the Bengals in Cincinnati. And I think we can both agree the Bengals actually were a pretty good team. They just shot themselves in the foot with their horribly slow start and losing to the Patriots.
So the Seahawks, borderline playoff team, they lost. Steelers, playoff team, they lost. Right? The Bengals, borderline playoff team, they lost.
Again, toe-to-toe with those 3 teams.
Oh, so now we're doing moral victories. So the Chiefs, when they actually were trying, they lost. The Chargers, playoff team, they went 0-2. Like, anytime they played anybody worth a hoot outside of the Buccaneers, that's it. That's the only good win they had all year. It was week 3.
But I feel like this is the ultimate hedge for you. Because now if they lose to the Bills, you're going to say, yep, I told you all along, this Broncos team wasn't special. They just couldn't do much this year. Like, it feels like a great hedge for you in a game that they're trending toward being double-digit dogs. Like, the only way you have to come on here and admit, hey, maybe I was wrong, maybe these guys were better than I thought, is if they pull a pretty monumental upset on Sunday.
Okay, so if they lose 47-17, like the 10-7 Patriots did in 2021 with Mac Jones, does that make it that this team was a fraud, or what does it make this team?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at your social caption today at denversports.com for your column, which I read, and I thought you made some decent points.
Oh, thanks.
But your social caption was, are the Broncos for real or are they a fraud?
Yes.
We're fixing to find out. How can you call a team that just won 10 games and snapped a playoff drought that goes back to 2015 and Super Bowl 50 a fraud?
Because they played a schedule that was the equivalent of an SEC non-conference schedule. They played Mercer. They didn't beat anybody, Will.
Well, they beat Tampa, who's now a 3 seed in the NFC.
Okay.
After they had just beaten the Lions.
So they beat somebody had to win that division. Somebody did.
Right. Well, they didn't even get the 4 seed. They jumped the NFC West champion.
Because the Rams are mediocre at best, too.
Right, but I'm saying you can't say the NFC South sucks if the NFC West sucks even further.
Okay.
Because now you're just telling me that everyone sucks.
No, but the teams that the Broncos lost to didn't suck. And they still managed. That's who they lost to. They didn't beat the good teams. They lost to every good team they played, other than the Buccaneers. So if they go lose 47-17, I think I can make an argument they're a fraud. If they go win, everybody who's been victory lapping me all day can victory lap me. If you go beat Buffalo, there's somewhere in between. I'm not a moral victory guy, but if you go lose 31-28 at Buffalo, okay, then you were legit. You were. You hung in there against a team that's arguably going to win the Super Bowl.
You did that in Kansas City, in L.A., in Cincinnati. You've already done that. So that's moving the goalposts if you want to tell me now you'll be impressed with a close loss.
You
whereas
don't think
these other 3 close losses, you're just completely dismissing.
I think this is a tougher scenario. I think going into Buffalo right now is
Chiefs were undefeated at the time.
I think going into Buffalo is tougher than going into Arrowhead. Who's the only team that beat Kansas City this year in a game that Kansas City tried?
Who had the better record?
Who beat them? Who beat them?
The Bills beat them in a road game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're the better team. I think Buffalo's the best team in the AFC. If you go beat the best team in the AFC, or you go hang in there with the best team in the AFC, okay. But I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go down and have a meeting at Empower Field and figure out where do we put Bo Nix's name on the facade because he swept the NFC South, because he beat the Raiders twice, because he beat a bunch of teams that either fired their coach and or benched their quarterback. He beat 9 dumpster fires.
What's it say about the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23 Broncos that they couldn't even get to this point? They couldn't even make the playoffs.
Well, I think last year's 8-9 was more impressive than this year's 10-7. They won at Buffalo and they beat Kansas City.
They lost at home to a crap-tastic Patriots team to blow their postseason chances.
I understand that.
The Broncos yesterday played a crap-tastic Chiefs team and won 38-0.
They also had a chance to clinch a playoff spot at the Chargers, couldn't get it done because the Chargers were trying. They had a chance to clinch a playoff spot at Cincinnati, couldn't get it done because Cincinnati was trying. So they won a game that the team didn't try, and I'm supposed to be impressed by that?
I think it's more impressive to go toe-to-toe with Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow than it is to lose to Bailey Zappi at home on New Year or on Christmas Eve.
I think it's more impressive to beat Josh Allen in Buffalo on a Monday night in November.
With an incredible second chance.
Okay.
But you can't tell me that I can't talk about what happened in Arrowhead because the field goal got blocked, yet you use that as an example when they got really lucky that Buffalo had 12 guys on the field.
So that's lucky, but throwing the ball up for grabs on 4th and 1 and Marvin Mims making a catch isn't lucky?
No, that's Bo making a play.
Okay.
With the game on the line.
All right. It's Russell Wilson driving him right down the field in Buffalo on a Monday night and putting him in field goal range, and nobody remembers that, but Bo Nix does it.
He did it. Bo
and they missed the field goal, and you got the guys from other media outlets in this town down on the field basking in the glow of the 16-14 loss. But it was embarrassing.
But I'm saying in both examples, the field goal got missed, right? So the field goal got missed in Buffalo. They got bailed out. The field goal got blocked in Kansas City. They didn't get bailed out.
So let's go back to my question.
Can't both just be impressive?
If they lose 47-17 on Sunday, what do you think of this team this year? Do you think I think
that the playoff game was gravy. I think it was all gravy to get to this point, and I'm excited that the Broncos are finally back in the postseason. I'm excited that Bo Nix got a taste of what the playoffs feel like, and I'm looking forward to next year when I do think they could legitimately win a Super Bowl.
You think this team, if they lose 47-17 to Buffalo, next year's the Super Bowl team?
Potentially, yeah.
Based on what? How are they going to win 3 playoff games when they can't beat a good team? How's that going to happen?
Again, they came really close to beating good teams. And what happens from year 1 to year 2? You learn how to win those
Or
type
you
of
regress.
games.
Like Mac Jones. I think there's a better chance Bo Nix is Mac Jones if they lose 47-17 than he's the next great thing.
James, he just set a touchdown record for most ever thrown by a rookie at home in the history of the league. That's what he did yesterday.
Okay, and it is so painfully obvious that Sean Payton is going out of his way to set up his rookie quarterback to succeed, which is what a coach should do.
I was going to say, is that a bad thing? Don't we want our coach to make our quarterback the best player possible?
To the point where they don't run the ball, and I heard James Palmer on with the afternoon guys with the drive saying how there are people in that locker room saying they need to run the ball more, but that's not Sean's goal. Sean's goal is to prove everybody that he was right. So let's throw a bunch of bubble screens and pad stats. That is the most of his 29 touchdown passes. How many of them do you think Jarrett Stidham could not have made? 3?
Much more than that.
He could have made.
Jarrett Stidham's a guy who will be lucky to have an NFL job next.
He could have made every single touchdown throw yesterday, probably left-handed.
James, they ran the ball 43 times yesterday and only passed it 29. So that's immediately poking holes in your theory that they refused to run the ball when they ran the ball 2/3 of the time yesterday.
Okay. When they were trying to run out the clock, how many of those runs were in the third and fourth quarter?
I don't have that number in front of me. I'm just telling you about what happened.
How'd they do running the ball in L.A.? How many times did they run it there?
I think they can't run the ball because it's a personnel issue.
How many times did they run the ball this year over 17 games versus pass the ball, as opposed to the one outlier when the other team didn't try?
But it's just funny to me that them not being able to run the ball you think is a Sean issue.
They ran the ball in L.A. fine, and then he was like, oh, crap, I got to continue to pad Bo's stats.
I think 95% of Broncos country thinks the running back of the future isn't on this roster. Well, maybe Audric Estime.
These are the same people who
Javante's gone. Jaleel's undersized. Blake Watson and Tyler Bidet are pipe dreams. Like, the best running back on this team is some kid who's going to bed in a dorm room tonight.
It's the same. Those are the same people who tried to tell me all during training camp that Audric Estime was the next great thing. And I'm like, he's a 6th-round pick, our 5th-round pick. Odds are he's not here in 2 years. Like, okay.
But you just said they ran the ball well in L.A. Who was the kid who ran the ball well? It was Audric Estime.
He did, but they didn't stick with it because he's trying to pad stats. That's what Sean Payton did all year with Bo Nix. Pad and stats. Pad and stats.
I think that's more of a he can't help himself thing than an intentional thing.
Last year, he benched a quarterback who had 26 touchdowns and 8 picks. This year, he's got a guy that went into yesterday with 25 and 12, and he's out there helping him pad his stats.
Yeah, but the quarterback who got benched wouldn't redo his injury clause, and the Broncos need to make sure he didn't get hurt because they knew they were going to cut him.
That's not what he said. You're right. You're right. That's exactly what happened, and anybody with a brain knows that is what happened, and anybody who doesn't just go down to Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit and get the bullet points and go regurgitate him knows that's what happened. But he benched him. And I love the stats of like most combined touchdowns ever by a Broncos quarterback. And it's Manning. And I think it's either Bo or Elway. 6th on that list is Russell Wilson last year. And he got benched because his coach wanted to make sure he didn't look good so he could get to do whatever he wanted to go do and was plenty happy to finish 8-9 as opposed to in the playoffs because then he could dictate and force his way down this path, and he's got his way. But I'm not sure that they got the right head coach, and I'm not sure they got the right quarterback, and winning 38-0 over a team that didn't want to be there, it's like hitting a home run off a position player because they don't want to bring somebody out of the bullpen and burn them. Like, yeah, it's still a home run. It doesn't make you Hank Aaron.
Oh, man. They make the playoffs for the first time in 9 years.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You don't sound excited.
I'm excited.
This has been 21 and a half minutes of you poo-pooing what happened yesterday and poo-pooing the entire season.
All I've said is this all started because I said we don't know anything about this team. We don't.
I think we know that they're the best Broncos team that has worn those jerseys since Super Bowl 50, and for me as a fan, that's exciting.
Do you think they're going to go to Buffalo and compete? Hang in there. Make it close.
I mean, it's only Monday, so I'm not sure if I'm ready to make a prediction yet, but no, my gut reaction is I think the Bills probably beat them fairly handily this weekend.
Okay, so you kind of just made my point.
But I also think the Bills could be hoisting Lombardi in a month. So
you think the Broncos are, 380 days away from doing it?
I think quarterbacks can make that leap in year 2. Didn't Mahomes make that leap in year 2?
Well, I think technically
Brady made that leap in year 2.
Okay, so now so he's Tom Brady and he's Patrick Mahomes.
No, I'm just telling you that there is a indication over the years in this league that the better elite quarterbacks can make a championship type jump. I think Ben Roethlisberger did it. Is that a better comparison for you? Big Ben?
Big Ben's going to the Hall of Fame. You think Bo Nix is a Hall of Fame quarterback?
I'm just telling you. Didn't Rodgers go win a Super Bowl? Quoting your brother, a Super Bowl pretty early in his career?
Yeah.
Like we have a history of these guys that you know are pretty darn good can hoist Lombardi year 2, year 3, year 4. That's the trajectory I want Bo Nix to be on.
I want him to go on it too. We also have a history of a lot of Mac Jones type guys who throw 22 touchdowns as a rookie, lead their team when they're playing a bad schedule to the playoffs, get boat raced in the first round, and then it all comes crashing back down to earth because they're kind of a one-trick pony. And when teams figure them out, they don't have a counter. Now, do I think Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Mac Jones? I do. He can do more. He's got a better arm and he can move around better.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones is barely hanging on in Jacksonville. I don't think anyone thinks that 4 years from now, Bo Nix is going to be an anonymous backup for a crappy AFC South team.
We saw great things out of Trevor Lawrence. What is he now? Like, we've seen great things from young quarterbacks and then they come crashing back down to earth. That could very easily happen.
The way he played in the second half in Cincinnati and the way he played yesterday and the way he played in October when he was the NFL Rookie of the Month, we don't really have any indicators that Bo's going to come crashing back down.
Well, we have how he played for 3 quarters against the Chargers in Denver. We have how he played in New York.
That was in September?
We have how
early October?
We have how he played in the second half at the Chargers 2 weeks ago when they had a 11-point lead and didn't score again.
Wait, but I thought that was the head coach's fault.
It's both. I don't know that they have the right head coach, and I don't know that they have the right quarterback. And just the you just said the way he played yesterday. I don't count yesterday.
Yeah, you made it clear that you walked away impressed by nothing yesterday.
No,
not Cortland Sutton getting his incentive.
I'm happy for him. And the fact
Marvin Mims scoring 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games now.
The fact that he got his incentive is by and large a byproduct of what he did the other 16 games, and that's impressive.
Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper both getting to double-digit sacks.
Again, it's a byproduct of what they did the first 16 games, not just yesterday. Yesterday was an absolute joke, Will, and I'm just not going to have people tell me that, hey, they beat the Chiefs 38-0, so therefore they're a legit contender. It's laughable.
I agreed with you that the Chiefs' effort was pitiful. But I also push back on you that there are things from that game we can still like yesterday. I mean, imagine, James, I can't imagine. This is your stance when they lost 38-0? What if they had won 10-3? Then what would we be talking about?
Well, that would be a different conversation, for sure. And I've said this over and over and over again. The fact that they didn't just beat these teams that were bad on their schedule, they went out and boat raced them. They boat raced the Saints. They boat raced the Falcons. They boat raced the Chiefs' B team. I think even calling yesterday the B team is a little bit of a mischaracterization.
Yeah, it was the F team.
So losing to bad teams is unforgivable. They didn't. They went out and beat them. Okay, that's great. And by and large, they went out and beat them badly. But everybody gets mad when I say they're the best JV team in the league. That's why I say it. They kick everybody's butt that's a JV team. They do.
Well, the good news is they'll have a chance on Sunday to
against a varsity
beat a varsity.
Yeah.
So James Merlad has boiled down the last 17 games. We learned nothing. And a game in Buffalo on the road they're projected to lose by 10 is when we'll actually learn about the 2024
Correct.
Broncos.
Here's my message. This is what I'm going to say all week long.
Okay.
3 words. Go beat Buffalo. Go beat Buffalo. Shut me up. I want to be shut up. Go beat Buffalo.
Yeah, but what if they beat them in a fluky way?
I don't care.
Okay, so you're going on the record this moment that if the Broncos beat Buffalo, you will admit that you were wrong about the 2024 team.
Yes, I will. I will go buy my Bo Nix jersey. I'll go, look in whatever department Sean is buying those sunglasses in. I think he kind of George Costanza's that and went down the wrong aisle.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
Those were interesting.
He's been wearing those all year, too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting look.
It's a fashion choice for sure.
So I'll get some of the Sean Payton sunglasses, wear my Bo Nix jersey, and enjoy the divisional round.
All right. Well, Sean and Bo did both go to the podium yesterday. I wrote